Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in. What up, Notification Squad? Getting here as soon as I start this live stream. I hope YouTube is sending out those notifications. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not, though. Anyway, it's Wednesday, July 31st, the last day of the month. This is Jordan Sather reporting to you live from the liberation of the human farm, reporting on the great awakening of planet Earth. And it's been a few days since I've done one of these videos. I think it's been since last, Friday. So we've got some catching up to do. I've got a lot of information that I'll be discussing with you here. And as I've sort of liked to be doing, the format of these videos lately is that I've got 10 tabs up here, 10 different news stories that we're going to roll through really quickly. I'll just give you some data points or my thoughts on them. And then we'll get into discussing Q. I want to tell you guys about the Great Awakening Rally. Yes, that's coming up very soon. Very excited for that. And then we'll get into latest news about Q. And then later in the video, towards the end, I want to get into the sort of more in-depth conversations when I talk about some big pharma, health news, true health news, and information news about UFOs and extraterrestrials, technological components of that. Two topics that I feel they're near and dear to my heart. I feel they're pretty important to know, and I feel that I have some unique perspectives about them that not a lot of other people have or talk about. So I'm going to talk about them here. So let's get started. First of all, word to a sponsor of today's video, and that is Virtual Shield VPN, Virtual Private Network. That service is, well, number one, it helps you bypass censorship. So if you're locked out of or if your IP address is blocked from a website or a video by whatever provider, you can change that, tunnel around the censorship, but also it helps you encrypt your data, keep it secure, which is especially helpful if you're out in public Wi-Fi networks. Not really something you have to worry about at home, but if you're out doing work or travel a lot, hooked up to public networks, then get a VPN, help keep yourself safe and just very easy to tunnel around those censorship restrictions. And Virtual Shield is on sale for now for 2 years at just $4 a month. So 2 years, $4 a month. Extremely cheap. Links for Virtual Shield to be down below. Now getting into, first of all, I want to tell you guys about my appearance on Sam Tripoli. Yes, Tinfoil Hat podcast episode with me on there is out. It released a couple days ago, and it was a good conversation, man. I had a good time. There's some cool dudes. Sam Tripoli is there at the Tinfoil Hat. But just want to say one thing. Check out these comments. Dude, I'm getting wrecked. I'm getting destroyed in this comment section, and it's freaking hilarious to me. I mean, check this out. They're throwing the cult word. This one here, this kid's Jordan is either a shill, and this one's my favorite. It's the most thumbs up one, and they're talking about the industrial bleach. MMS, it's not a bleach. I've said this many times. Anybody that throws the MMS as a bleach stuff out there, Jordan tells you to drink bleach, instant shill. Instant idiot or instant liar, they're a shill. I mean, it's just, it's kind of funny. I'm getting wrecked. One of these commenters is even like, yo, I don't understand. Someone please explain to me why the guest is not trusted. I'm so lost. It's the shilling on the internet is truly stepped up a notch. I've seen it on 8chan. There's so much just false flaggy, COINTELPRO looking stuff on there on 8chan. And in these YouTube comments like, dude, Sam, you guys Tinfoil Hat, you got a lot of shills on your butt here on your YouTube channel. You better get rid of those. Industrial bleach. We'll talk about that again in a few minutes. But now I want to get into Epstein. All right, so we've got some quite surprising articles being ran in the mainstream media, primarily the Daily Mail, about Jeffrey Epstein, and they're not really that fake news, quite frankly. I just want to say, first of all, before we get into these articles, the Daily Mail has surprised me for quite a while. It's not a black and white world. It's a very gray world. And even in the mainstream media, there could be little bits of truth or even some good people at these mainstream media organizations that try to get the truth out there as opposed to their fake news lying counterparts. And I've been surprised by some stuff I've seen seep out of the Daily Mail over the last couple of years even. I mean, they reported on Nexium stuff quite a bit, Epstein here, even other topics, health, UFOs and whatnot. So I just want to say that. But check this article out. They ran it a couple days ago, and it's about what they're calling his mysterious temple, which I like. The Daily Mail, they're not calling it a gym. They're not calling it a yoga studio like some of these fake news organizations are trying to cover up the story. They're calling it a mysterious temple. They're saying the pedophile island goes quiet as owner awaits sex trafficking charges. And they're talking about how the golden dome was blown off of Jeffrey Epstein's temple. Like they do. They actually post some pretty clear pictures there. And you can see the dome's off of it. So they're pretty recent. And get this. This is the main point of this article that I want to point out. This line is written twice in here. It's actually a bulleted sub-point that they put. The temple has been of great interest to members of the QAnon community who had been talking about the island long before Epstein's current arrest. Hot damn. Look at that. They're like telling people, well, look at this QAnon community. What are they so privy to? How are they so knowledgeable about this stuff? They've been talking about it for a long time. And in fact, yes, we have been. If you remember, the first couple weeks of Q's drops in November of 2017, we were being asked, what is Epstein's island? What's there? What is a temple? What's a temple used for? Et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, Q's been discussing this for well over a year and a half, and we have in the QAnon community as well. But wow, Daily Mail actually telling people, basically, again, it's not discrediting. It's not attacking it. It's saying, what the heck's up with this QAnon community? Surprising. Hitting the mainstream in good ways, which I like to see. I mean, the fake news, the attacks is nice because just free publicity, but I like when they're real, most definitely. And the next article about from the Daily Mail on Epstein, this one came today, just about an hour ago. Nervous and dazed, Jeffrey Epstein shows no sign of injury during court appearance 1 week after he was found injured in his cell, as judge sets next June for the start of a sex trafficking trial. So let's dissect this headline. Epstein showed up in court today. No sign of injury, which is good. No doubt he's nervous and dazed. A lot of them folks are. And also, point in this article, let me find it. So right here, as we said, judge sets next June for the start of the trial. The trial's only going to take like 4 to 6 weeks, a month or so. But we're about 10 months out, almost a year away from that trial happening. So, got to keep him safe, locked up, solitary confinement for the next year with lots of guards around him, no doubt. We're going to talk about that suicide attempt a little bit more in a minute here. But check this out. Don't freak out that it's taking so long, because look at this. The case has already generated 1 million pages of documents in discovery, which the defense said it now needs time to review. 1 million pages already in discovery. That's why it's taken so long, because there is shitloads of evidence being funneled through this court case. And, I mean, it's not like other people aren't going to be arrested in the next 10 months. Anybody connected to Epstein, lots of people are connected to him. So, big happenings, but it might feel like it might get dragged out a little bit, but I think big stuff is coming regardless. And one of those connections of Epstein's that may or may not get arrested very soon, Ghislaine Maxwell. How about this story out of the New York Post? Feds probe socialite's mysterious ocean, quote, charity over links to Jeffrey Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell. Call her Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend, business partner, handler, rogue intel, asset friend, I don't know, whatever you want to call her. Nevertheless, she's totally shady. Her dad, Robert Maxwell, I believe that guy used to be associated with Mossad, Israel's, basically their CIA, their foreign intelligence service. So, deep state connections for sure. And speaking of that charity, that quote, ocean charity, Maxwell torpedoed that. She cut it only days after Jeffrey Epstein's arrest. It was like within a week that she totally closed that ocean charity. So no doubt, just connect the dots. It was probably being used to launder money, for slush funds, for hush payments, just totally illegal, shady stuff. So more arrests coming. I can't wait. Next story, let's touch on that suicide attempt of Epstein. So I'm going to reference some tweets from Julian's Rum yet again. He's been tracking this very odd connection between this ex-NYPD cop that's being held in the same Manhattan jail as Epstein, and he's actually in there for quadruple murder. He's an ex-NYPD cop, murderer, in jail, same jail as Epstein. And as Julian's Rum has been reporting, I'll link this tweet below. A lot of this stuff will get linked below. I'll link it after done with this video here. An illicit phone was found in the cell of this ex-cop charged in quadruple homicide. This phone was found only a couple days before Epstein's, quote, suicide attempt. Okay? Now, what they're trying to say is that Jeffrey Epstein's, you can see the headline here, ex-cop, quote, quadruple murderer cellmate tells how he saved the billionaire pedophile's life. I'll open this. When he found him unconscious following prison suicide attempt. So that guy, Mr. Jacked right there, is trying to claim that he saved Jeffrey Epstein's life when he almost found him suicided, as we'll say. Yeah, I'm not buying that. I think this guy was getting some orders from somebody or agreed via this phone here to probably pull a hit on Epstein. It failed, and now they're trying to cover tracks. The cellmate, this roided out dude, try to save Epstein. Yeah, bullshit. So, as Julian's Rum notes, yeah, look at that bullshit. Cellmate tells how he saved Epstein's life. I doubt it. So you can go check that out on your own accord. And still some news out of the NYPD having to do with the suicides. So another NYPD sergeant found dead of apparent suicide on Staten Island. This is now the fifth individual, the fifth NYPD cop that has committed suicide. I think just this month, just within the last 4 weeks here. So, God, super shady. What does this connect to? I mean, does it connect to Epstein in some case? Other investigations going on in New York there? How about Wiener's laptop? Maybe the Nexium case. I don't know. I hope we get answers for all this and find out what's really going on there. And still some news out of New York. Lots of stuff happening there, but we're shifting gears a bit from NYPD to some local fire commissioners. So this is making the rounds on Twitter. I've seen it do, and some other news. New York area fire commissioners make history, call for new 9/11 investigations. Okay, there's a few data points to get correct with this one. This is not like the New York City fire commissioners. It's a local district there, the Franklin Square and Munson Fire District, as you can see here. But nevertheless, it is an actual fire district. It oversees a volunteer fire department just outside Queens, New York, and they're officially supporting a new investigation into the events of 9/11. This is still good. I mean, it's a smaller, more local district there, but it's still great because people are still calling for the truth, and especially local fire commissioners in New York there, and people's eyes are still opening. I mean, 9/11 was it was a lot of people's initial red pill. There's a lot of people's catalyzing moment that started wakening them up to like, holy crap, this deep state does some nefarious stuff, and this is reality. This is not conspiracy theory. So we still deserve the truth about 9/11. I have no doubt that that's going to come to light, and I still need to call for it. So props to them. Props to those fire commissioners for doing so. I'll link this article from Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth down below. Breitbart reporting on another big tech whistleblower. This isn't the only one I've seen in recent days, but this is the one I want to make note of here because of how YouTube tried to censor and manipulate search results, as this whistleblower has been telling us. So the allegation, as reported by Breitbart here, is that YouTube manipulated Federal Reserve search results in response to an MSNBC host's complaint. No doubt. I mean, of course, YouTube, Google, manipulating search results for everything across the board, all the truths they want to suppress for a long, long time. But this evidence is hitting the mainstream now. This isn't just conjecture or stuff that's hush-hush conversation like it was a few years ago. This stuff's hitting mainstream news. And let's check out the details of this story. So Chris Hayes was that MSNBC host that threw a bitch fit about this. And I remember this tweet. This was from September of last year, 2018. I do remember this tweet. I remember putting it in a video of mine here. Chris Hayes tweeted, "My favorite example of how informationally toxic YouTube's algorithm is, imagine if you're a high school freshman and got a school assignment about the Federal Reserve. Next tweet, he says, you watch videos on YouTube all the time. So you go home and put Federal Reserve into the search bar. And the first video that comes up is the documentary, The Century of Enslavement, the history of the Federal Reserve, that has 1.6 million views. So basically, YouTube is using Chris Hayes' bitching and moaning here as an excuse to go and censor search results. That's what this whistleblower is telling us. Of course, I mean, this happens all the time. It's just great that it's getting reported on and known. And, I mean, gosh, it's not just politically sensitive information that gets censored, but health information. Shoot, that bleach stuff, right? I had a video censored by YouTube a little over 3 months ago about MMS, where I was talking about what it actually is and the true science behind it. But nope, YouTube censors it. And now we're seeing all this bleach bullshit being ran in the mainstream media and the alternative media too. All the shills are running with that narrative. So it's because people can't go and type it and find the truth about it anymore. They make the truth harder to get and put their narratives out there. So there's that. Glad Breitbart's reporting on that. And now let's talk about the that shooting there in California. Just a couple quick details on it. I've seen a lot of people get very deep into the research of this one particular incident, but you know me, I'm much more big picture. I'll just give you what you need to know and move on to something else instead of spending too much time on one thing. But of course, this shooting, just false flag written all over it. Very odd situation. Calls for gun control right after it all across the board, when lo and behold, it's in a state where that was with very heavy gun control laws. And I saw some conflicting news reports about this. This is a news from the Bay Area there, the ABC affiliate in the Bay Area, where the shooting happened. And just the way this tweet was worded, and some of these news reports are worded, it's very weird. So the moment the shooter was tackled by police, the way this is written, this tweet here, Litsi Munguia, if I'm getting that right, took this photo while hiding under her food booth. She met eyes with the shooter, and then he was shot in the head by police moments later. So he was tackled. This person met eyes. The guy was tackled, and then the police shot him. I'm not putting those two together. It doesn't make sense to me, right? It reminds me of the recent news that came out about the Comet Ping Pong shooter, how the cops uncuffed him in public and were talking to him, and then they recuffed him and took him down to the precinct. Guy's got a gun. They're not gonna mess around like that unless there's either a crooked cop there or maybe some, I don't know, crooked cop involved in the situation. Could have been. It's just not making sense to me, and I'm sure it's not making sense to you either. Now let's move on into the last story I have for you guys before we'll talk about Q stuff. Good old Q. So here's a news story I'm seeing going around. Some people are kind of spreading certain narratives with it, and I just want to put the logic into the picture here about this. Zero Hedge. This article came out yesterday. It says, major solar storm to strike Earth this week as, quote, black supermoon looms. Now let's take a look at Joe, our favorite Joe M's angle on this, and talk about it. He says, oh no, as Joe tweets yesterday, a solar storm that has the potential to wipe out communications during the first week of declassification drops. Either the sun doesn't want us to learn the truth, or it's just an excuse for when they, or the deep state, wants to shut down the internet, prevent communication. Which do you think? Now, okay, let's take a look at who's reporting this. So, I want to make a note, though. I mean, that idea that the deep state would be pulling some sort of false flag like this to just shut down the internet or communications, it's a good idea just to be aware of, all right? But I don't particularly think, me personally, that that's what we have here, because it's not like CNN or the Washington Post or the New York Times is reporting on this, like corporate legacy fake news media. It's more of alt underground blogs. You can see here, it was authored by a guy named Michael Snyder at the End of the American Dream blog, and then it was reposted by Zero Hedge. So, frankly, I think it's more of clickbait than deep state trying to run this giant narrative into the collective consciousness for a false flag. I think it's just some clickbait stuff. Anytime we see any sort of small solar flare or space weather happen, we get articles like this, and they blow it way out of proportion. They exaggerate it way out of proportion just for the clicks. Now, I'm going to take you guys to a website. Let's take a look at the actual space weather, all right? This is a website called solarham.net. Shout out to Chris, and shout out to Enrico for the super chats, my friends. Thank you very much. But this is a website here called solarham.net. I'll link it down below. It's just interesting to me to track space weather on a semi-daily, maybe weekly basis, see what we have coming up, just to be aware of it, okay? And I know this website looks a little confusing, but if you go to Suspicious Observer's YouTube channel, I can't plug them enough. I've learned so much about space weather and electric universe physics and whatnot from the Suspicious Observer's channel. But anyway, if you watch his videos for a few months, you can kind of pick up what a lot of this stuff means. But basically what I want to note here, let's look at the 3-day geomagnetic forecast that you can see right about there. And 30th, 31st, the 1st. So the next few days, we really have, as you can see here, nothing. A 3 on the KP index, 3 on the K index, a 2 on the 1st. That basically means, if you don't understand, very weak geomagnetic storms. And normally on the KP index, once you start getting up to a geomagnetic storm of like 6 or 7, that's when you start seeing some big disturbances. Maybe electrical failures go down in big grids. You might hear some radio interference, and your devices might not work. And you'll see northern lights farther away from the poles, like maybe Northern America and whatnot. But 2, 3, that's like nothing. We're not going to see hardly anything. And we can take a look at what's causing these geomagnetic disturbances. It's not a solar flare. It's actually these coronal holes. Coronal holes are basically like cold spots, for lack of a better term, in the sun's surface. And when we get one that turns Earth-facing, it's spitting out a lot of ionized particles, charged particles at us. And these are small coronal holes, like number 45, 47, 48, you can see here. This one's Earth-facing right now. These ones will be Earth-facing soon. And these are all spitting out ionization at us, but they're small. So as you can see here, that's why it's going to be a 2 on the KP index. Nothing's coming up. And that's why I'm saying this is just kind of clickbaity stuff, but I'm not thinking like it's deep state narratives false flag, because I don't see actual deep state corporate media really trying to push this very hard. So that's some information on that. Appreciate you guys. I'll do some more videos on space weather and whatnot coming up. And I'm definitely going to be doing a video on MMS coming soon. Quite frankly, I still have a strike on this channel. Like this summer, I've kind of been laying low a little bit because I had 2 strikes on this channel for the longest time. One of those expired. I still have 1 strike on this channel for the next like week or so. But after that, frees me up to be a little more open with what I can say and do on this. But yeah, I'll do a video on MMS discussing the science behind it. A lot more stuff soon. But now I want to get into talking Q and talking the Great Awakening Rally. So, the Great Awakening Rally, check it out, being hosted by my friend Dylan of Educating Liberals. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram. He's got a lot of followers, a lot more than me on those accounts. He is putting together this Great Awakening Rally. Well, not just him, a lot of other people too. I had an individual, Redshift Reality on Twitter. She's the one that applied for the permit. She got a permit for this. Dylan's going, I'm going, some other people are going too. A lot of people. Check this out. Hundreds now. I'm going to refresh this because actually there's like over 500 interested now. Over 600 people either going or interested. And we're trying to make this big. It's going to be on 9/11 there at the Washington Monument, at the National Mall there in Washington, D.C. And hey, this is a grassroots effort. As Q has said, get organized, get heard. We're trying to be heard doing this. And we're trying to get people to go. And I know a lot of people are skeptical about it. I've gotten a lot of skepticism from it already. You know, are you sure it's being put on by good people? Are you sure it's going to be safe? I think it's going to be safe. It's being put on by grassroots people I know. I'm going. I trust this event. No doubt there's going to be a lot of attacks at it and likely some infiltration, but we're going to do our best just to keep it a loving, compassionate affair. No nonsense there. We're just going to be making our voices heard, be live streaming from there. I most definitely will. And getting some videos there, pictures there. So there you go. If you can make it, September 1st, Great Awakening Rally there in Washington, D.C. And we're already getting some publicity about this. I've seen some of those sleuths, some of those trolls on Twitter. They're already tweeting about it. like Travis View. Will Sommer put it into an article for the Daily Beast here, the Ultimate Fringe Trump World Conference. He's talking about a little bit about the American Priority Conference first here, which I was supposed to go to last year. They were going to have a Q panel at the American Priority Conference last year, but they started getting attacked in the media, and they had to cancel that panel. Unfortunate. I wanted to go, but didn't. And they're holding another one this year with Sarah Sanders, Matt Gaetz, a few other people. Looks neat, but there's also going to be, of course, that Great Awakening rally. Looks like the American Priority Conference is in Miami there in October. This one here, the Q rally, is going to be, of course, in September. And as Will Sommer, good old Daily B shill, writes, QAnoners to rally in D.C., but not without controversy. I don't know what controversy is really going on about this other than what they're writing in their narratives. But right here, they're putting believers in the QAnon conspiracy theory will head up to Washington on September 11th for a rally at the foot of the monument. Linking some tweets. The rally organizers say they've obtained a permit. 2 major QAnon promoters are on board. Jordan Sather, who advocates for drinking bleach. And he links that Paste magazine article that came out a couple months ago entitled, "This Guy Drank Bleach to Own the Libs." They're talking about me. I drank bleach to own the libs. No, I didn't drink bleach to own anybody. And no, I didn't drink bleach, period. Because MMS, again, is not bleach. A bleach is not a thing. A bleach is a process. But much more will be coming on that very soon. Just got to debunk all of these shilly shills. And poor old, let's get back to that Daily Beast article. Poor old Will Sommer here. Just trying to do all he can to lie. And then writes about Dylan going as well. So, free publicity. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And now let's get on into Q's drops here. So we're going to go through really what... comments. Good stuff. Smash that like button. Absolutely. Hit like, my friends. Much appreciated. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that little notification bell. A lot of people have been telling me they've been unsubscribed from my channel. Shady stuff. That shadow banning, that demonetization, that shadow unfollowing they're doing. Okay, now getting into Q's drops, we're going to go over really just the past couple of days. I want to start here with yesterday, Trump retweeting the voter ID please handle on Twitter. And this was huge because Trump retweeted it, and when you went to that account on Twitter, this is what it looked like. Where we go on, we go all, right there on the banner, right there in the bio. You had hashtag QAnon strewn all over the timeline of this account. So, I mean, what else do you want by way of proof? They're just coming. They're coming all the time. And the reason being is because they're trying to get the people who haven't heard about it or who haven't researched it into the topic. So when people click on Trump's tweet here, oh, they see this, they see the hashtags, they see hashtag Q and the information on the timeline. So it's, I mean, they're trying to get this information out into the mainstream to as many people as possible. Most definitely a Q proof there. And the mainstream media so fast to try to cover ass with it. I saw The Hill running some stories about Donald Trump retweeting a QAnon promoter. The Washington Post, Trump shares Twitter accounts linked to conspiracy theorist QAnon. The Amazon Washington Post, linchpin, the pillar of the lamestream media. I replied to their tweet here, just having a little fun on the tweets of WAPO. When I talked to you guys about QAnon, it was pretty ridiculous how your interviewer kept framing the questions as if Q is baseless or wrong, and its followers are violent and deranged, which is also very wrong. I have a video of it. If you didn't remember, I interviewed with WAPO about 6 months ago, about Q. I decided to do it when they contacted me. I caught some heat for it, but nevertheless, I think it was a smart move to do. They would have butchered it regardless, so why not go into there and try to keep them from doing so. And I recorded like 45 minutes of this. If you go to YouTube, we can probably find it here. It was a 50-minute conversation, and they literally only used like 10 seconds of me there. Yeah, you can see like literally 10 seconds, 20 sequence. They inserted their own, quote, experts, whoever these people are. There's like a chick in there, and then there's a dude who's supposedly an assistant professor, and it's just nonsense. So that's why I made this tweet of WAPO there. And I might put out that video. I still have it. I've just been keeping it in the back pocket for any sort of time and place like this. And then Q saying here in this next drop, how did Q know about the voter ID push coming almost a year ago? As this Q linking this tweet here with a graphic, Q said 2019 voter ID push about 6 months ago, actually back in December. And now Donald Trump tweets voter ID please handled today with QAnon paraphernalia all over it. It's just clockwork. It's just clockwork. Once Donald Trump says something, the mainstream media is going to do everything they can to combat that. And when it comes to voter IDs, the reason why the deep state does not want voter IDs on people is because a lot of these illegals are voting for their candidates that just sound good to them or giving them these easy peasy handouts. And they just don't realize that these candidates are bullshit. So all these illegal folks are voting for who's going to let them stay in the country illegally. But nevertheless, look at all these things that you need a voter ID for. Q giving us an old drop here talking about, giving us a lot of questions why no voter ID is pushed so hard. But don't you need an ID to do things like buy alcohol and drive and shoot? I saw these graphics, these memes. You even need a voter ID to get into the Democratic National Committee convention. But nevertheless, not to vote for them. Hypocrisy at its finest. So there's that. That's why the voter ID thing is going to, that narrative, that propaganda is going to come out so hard at us. Need to be wary of that. Next drop here, Q links a photograph that Devin Nunes posted on Twitter saying targets may be closer than they appear. Hunters become the hunted. All the deep state sickos are hunted now. Devin Nunes posted this yesterday saying hunting for chupacabras circa 2001. I think he's hunting for some treasonous moles in the government, more or less. But that's just funny. And next drop here, there's that Hill article that an Anon posted on the boards. Trump tags QAnon account in calling for voter ID law. Q quoting from that article, Trump has periodically called for stricter voter ID laws, which advocates warn could restrict ballot access in low-income communities, students, and people of color, like clockwork. ID required when to do so many things in society, yet not vote. And they're trying to say it's going to make it more difficult to vote if you just simply have an ID. I don't understand. Corruption on display, as they're saying. Next drop here. Here's a placeholder. And Q giving us exculpatory evidence placeholder in regards to FISA. T's equal people who are targets or targeted. And watch the news this week. So we've had these placeholders on a particular board that Q posted in November of last year, and Q's also said that in August is when the placeholders start becoming active. So, if so facto, if we're going to decode that, I think in August we might either see some arrests begin to happen or some declassified documents come to light. You know, as Joe DeGeneres said, declass might start today or sometime this week. In August especially is we're going to see this stuff really begin to hit the fan. So, get excited, get prepared, get ready. It's going to happen very soon. Next drop, 3558. China hoping to wait out POTUS's term for a better trade deal. Ha! As Q said in a drop just about a week ago, all these things that China could have been doing, i.e. hypothetical questions, meaning they were doing these things. Were they monitoring Mueller's hearing, analyzing the likelihood of POTUS's re-election, taking steps to harm the re-election, etc., etc., news unlocks, i.e. future proves past, i.e. Q has just been giving us hints. They're giving us hints, rhetorical, hypothetical questions, getting us to think about what's really going on, and then news breaks a week later, a few days later, that prove that they have inside knowledge. I mean, it's just basics at this point. So there you go. Next drop, meme. You need an ID for all these things, but not to vote. Q says logical Q. Here's that meme. Yes, you need an ID to buy alcohol, get cigarettes, open a bank account, apply for food stamps, do all these things, buy an M-rated video game, shoot, buy a lighter at the store. You get ID'd for sometimes, but not to vote. Not to elect leaders of this country. No way anybody willy-nilly can come into this country and do that. Ridiculous. Another logical cue in the next drop. What is the Red Cross doing with all those cash pallets? This tweet here. Why does the Red Cross have all this money? Where's it going? These are all stashed with cash, guys. American dollar bills. And these notes on there, they're written in like Arabic, I think. So what the heck is going on here? I think slush funds, hush money payments, secret money laundering transfers using the Red Cross. Huh. And funny, look at this next drop. Q links us a .org website, a few of them actually, about Senator Grassley calling for more oversight. The American Red Cross Transparency Act. This was introduced May 21st. What's that, 2 months ago? Oversight of the Red Cross. Huh. If you actually read this, it actually says the Red Cross has been struggling. They've been trying to gain oversight of it, but the Red Cross has shown an unwillingness to answer questions in the past. So yeah, heck yeah, oversee the Red Cross. And speaking of, bringing it back, all these things connect. Bringing it back to MMS, chlorine dioxide, what the fake news calls bleach. The Red Cross has actually done some experiments with it on malaria over there in Africa. And now they're trying to cover it up. They're like, oh crap, MMS actually works really well against malaria, but we don't want that because we want to promote our malaria vaccines or whatever the deep state wants. So let's cover ass. Let's put all this propaganda out about bleach. Yeah, Red Cross is so corrupt. Also, the vaccine programs, everything else they do, awful stuff. Next drop here, we get a meme, and this is just funny. A meme with a quote from Psalms 78:45. He sent among them swarms of flies, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. And the meme maker here, Q team, whoever's behind Q posting these, they probably just thought it was funny and hilarious, because it is. Flies you can see on Obama's face, on Hillary's face. And then the frogs, the good old Pepe frogs. Frogs destroying them, flies devouring them. It's just, God, it's a little too synchronistic. Some of these things are just so synchronistic that you can't help but think that the universe, divine forces are out there. And Q giving reference to those divine forces in the next drop here, giving us a link to a tweet from no one other than the Pope himself. Whoever, whatever species the Pope is, let us pray that the Lord will free the victims of human trafficking. The Pope tweeted this yesterday. #end human trafficking. Asking for a friend. Simple yes or no will do. Has the Vatican ever been involved with human trafficking or child sex trafficking themselves? Ever been involved or are still involved? I think that's a logical cue. Be interesting to hear the answer to that. So Q saying Godfather 3, it's going to be biblical. Godfather 3. We've heard that reference a little more lately. We did a lot at the very beginning of Q. More lately, just look at the plot line of Godfather 3. Go watch the movie and how it turns out. I think that's the reference that we're getting here. That's the hint or the code. Just go watch the movie and see the plot line. Next drop here, The Guardian. Maybe that'll be my nighttime movie tonight. I'll watch me some Godfather 3. Anyway, Q link in this Guardian article. Secret texts cast light on UK's early role in Trump-Russia inquiry. So The Guardian, which, mind you, super fake news. It's like UK's CNN or UK's Washington Post or New York Times. Very fake news. Secret texts cast light on UK's early role in Trump-Russia inquiry. They're talking about senior MI5 and FBI officials sharing concerning text messages about their, quote, storage situation. So they're talking about Andrew McCabe, then Deputy Director, number 2 guy at the FBI, and MI5 exchanging texts. Q giving us a little bit of background here. See Guardian article. How do you get ahead of a story? Coincidence. What story is the Guardian trying to get ahead of? Well, it's this one that George Papadopoulos is giving us a little light on right here. Transcripts are out tomorrow. The first demonstrable proof to show that not only did we not collude, but the whole world was against us and Donald Trump still won in 2016. So transcripts are coming out today. I'm not sure exactly what transcripts, but nevertheless has to do with FISA and the illegal spying that happened and the treason that happened. So that's why the Guardian is writing this story. They're trying to get ahead of that and throw some sort of twist on it all to help delay the inevitable. Coincidence? Not at all. And then the last drop here, 24-hour false flag alert. This one came last night. 24-hour warning. Be vigilant. See something. Say something. Know your surroundings at all times. That's why I like to hermit away sometimes, right? It's nice and safe out in the forest, away from the crazy urban environments. But if you're in an urban environment, be safe. If you're at some sort of festival, music setting, who knows, out there, be safe, see something, say something. So that's all we have to do in regards to Q there. And the Great Awakening Rally, like I said, go check it out, and just everything else that I wanted to cover. Now we'll get to Big Pharma. There's some Big Pharma articles that I want to cover, and a few tweets here. So, actually just articles. First of all, U.S. measles outbreaks, CNBC reporting on this yesterday. U.S. measles outbreak helps boost Merck's vaccine sales in second quarter. Oh, that vaccine topic. You guys know I'm very outspoken. I'm very against vaccines in their current way, shape, or form, how they're currently made and produced and researched. I think it's all a crock of shit. And some people out there are a little confused, a little skeptical of being pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine, but do a lot more work coming up on explaining it all to you, explaining my hardcore position. But here's just a few dots to connect there. If you're confused about it, skeptical, if you think vaccines still might be good for you, just look at this. Sales of children's vaccines, which include the New Jersey-based companies, that's Merck's, MMR vaccine for measles, jumped 60% to nearly $700 million of sales, of revenue for Merck. That's just with one vaccine. That's like 2/3 of $1 billion. And again, Merck is the sole producer of the MMR vaccine, i.e. the measles vaccine, in America. Duh. Why the hell did we get so much measles hysteria in the mainstream media? Fear porn about it this year. Who's Merck paying off? It's pretty easy to pay off a doctor, pay off some public health officials, to run some lies, pay off some media organizations to promote some deep state propaganda, get everybody scared, they go get vaccinated. Oh my God, look at these profits. Not just that, but profits on the Gardasil vaccine is up. I mean, it's just disgusting. And how much propaganda have we seen about HPV lately? Go get your HPV shots. The FDA is now expanding people who they say should get the HPV shot. Now, not just girls, but boys need to get it. Not just kids, but adults need to get it. Not just adults, but old people need to get it. It's just for profits, folks. It's not in the interest of public health. It's just for profits. It's so disgusting. I mean, it's just awful. So connect the dots. And now that back to school season is coming, get the most important thing in your child's back to school kit. That's a vaccine exemption. Wherever you're at, get that vaccine exemption. Claim philosophical. Claim scientific. Claim whatever you can claim. Claim you're a part of whatever church you need to say you're a part of. Because truly, there's aborted fetal cells that are used or have been used to produce these vaccines, like the MMR. That's definitely against many people's philosophies, their religions, their freaking just beliefs. And hey, it's my philosophy not to be injected with toxic shit that's going to harm me instantaneously, swelling of the nervous system and whatnot. But in the long run, autoimmune issues, problems like that, cancers, yeah. So, reject the poison, folks. And speaking of poison, how about this Guardian article, which, like I've been saying, it's not just a black and white world. The Guardian actually fairly surprising me with this one. They ran an article yesterday that says families seek answers for U.S. rise in childhood cancers. Now, this article is actually saying that scientists want to study correlations between toxicants and illness. On one hand, wow, they're actually running an article that's saying that toxins, like environmental factors, might have to do with cancers. You're telling me it's not just genetic, that there's actually outside factors to it? That's actually kind of surprising coming out of The Guardian, but nevertheless, they're acting like these things haven't been studied before. It's sort of kind of limited hangout here. They're just giving you a little bit of truth, but not the background. They're not telling you that, let's say, vaccine studies. Many of these studies that come out of these both private and public research institutions, they're faked, they're frauded. I mean, there's so much fake science these days, just like fake news these days. So, of course, there's a lot that Guardian isn't telling you here, but still, they're hey, environmental toxins have to do with cancers. But, of course, I find it funny, actually, on YouTube lately, I've seen a lot of ads for St. Jude. St. Jude Child Cancer Hospital, right? Interesting. It's just, there seems to be a mainstream media push about childhood cancers right now and getting people more aware, to think about them. But it might be such to just plug in there, hey, go this route, get chemo if you have cancer. You can't really prevent it. Yeah, you can, but they'll say you can't. So, I don't know. There's a lot to dissect with this propaganda and the health BS they're feeding us, but do it. Definitely do it on your own accord. Research about yourself so you know how to be your own doctor and take care of yourself. And then one last thing on sort of big pharma here. Article from greenmedinfo.com. Fantastic website for evidence-based, actual science-based information on vaccines, health, whatever you need. Go to GreenMedInfo. Great website. This article they posted a few days ago, it says 5G. The New York Times gets it wrong again. Great article here on 5G. They got a lot of good info on that. But what struck me as important is that the New York Times has actually partnered with Verizon. They've gone into a joint venture. And Verizon is setting up these like big 5G programs for the New York Times, the fake news, which, of course, that's why there's been so much 5G propaganda propagated out there by the fake news media, especially the New York Times, because they got a bunch of money in it. My God. Sick stuff what they do to mess with our minds just to bring forth their agendas. So that's that. And then very last thing I want to talk to you guys about, doing my best to go through all this. A lot of stuff that I'm bringing you here. Okay, let's get into UFOs. So I've seen this news story last couple of days. GOP lawmaker saying that he's concerned over reported UFO sightings by Navy pilots. Okay, so mainstream media reporting on this, Fox News, other places have, such as thedrive.com. Congressman has even written an official letter to the Navy demanding answers on UFOs. This is that congressman. Okay, his name's Mark Warner. Walker. Mark Walker. He's a Republican from North Carolina. And that's what strikes me as intriguing here, as sort of confusing, because he's not like your typical Democrat that's all impeach Trump, and then let's go distract with some UFOs over here, like Harry Reid or John Podesta. Funny enough, even John McCain was involved. His name you can find when you research this mainstream UFO disclosure initiative, this limited hangout, as I've been calling it. So it's not those typical deep staters. We got this more like pro-Trumpy Republican over here. So I don't know what this guy's angle is, Mark Walker. I'm thinking he might just be simply unaware. He's unaware that you can find Harry Reid connected to these quote UFO disclosures. You can find John Podesta and just a lot of other very shady individuals, a lot of ex-CIA guys trying to roll this out to the public now. Like, it's weird. It's weird. So I think Mark Walker is just ignorant, and that's an important note here, is that we got to get the big perspectives about all this out there. A lot of people are saying, Jordan, why are, this UFO disclosure initiative, this is good. Why are you so against it? I'm like, I'm against it because I see things big picture, all right? I see the strategy that's involved with this, how the deep state is trying to bring out a limited hangout to distract and divert people away from their deeper crimes. Their deeper crimes involving secret space programs and UFOs, and also their deeper crimes involving human trafficking and pedo-Satanism. So they're bringing out this limited hangout to throw shade on a lot of stuff and insert their gatekeepers with it. So these congressmen, maybe they just don't know that. They don't see that. They're too busy messing with other things, and their staffers probably are unawake and unaware of this stuff too. So that's just why I keep talking about it. We got to get this information and these sorts of perspectives out there. And so no doubt in the mainstream media coming up as D-Class comes, as just more information exposes the deep state, more things happen, we're going to get more half-ass, half-truth bullshit having to do with UFOs. And I'll continue reporting on that. You know I will. And one of those things is just the Area 51 topic. NBC, here we go again. Communities near Area 51 brace for influx of UFO tourists. Time magazine. Let me get Times up here. I got a lot of tabs open. Not sure this one will cooperate. There we go. Why are Area 51 conspiracy theories so popular? Here's what psychologists say. Really dumb psychologists that are useful idiots for their agenda. It's just, again, they're trying to bring out UFOs in a way that makes the public, makes the mainstream funnel down their avenues, what they want you to research, which is like not even half truth, very partial truth stuff. And then over here, they want to throw shade on and discredit, call it conspiracy theories, the deeper stuff and everything else. So it's like they're totally contradicting like themselves. UFOs aren't a conspiracy theory anymore, but this stuff over here is a conspiracy. I don't know. It's just there's so much gaslighting going on. And understand that, guys. UFOs, extraterrestrials, it's not a distraction themselves. It's what they're telling us about UFOs in the mainstream that's the distraction. The topic of UFOs, extremely important. One of the most important. The technologies associated with the UFO phenomenon, i.e. zero-point energy or anti-gravity, electric universe physics, etc., extremely important. That's how we're going to change our world. That's how we're going to save our damn selves. But it's what they're telling us in the mainstream media that's the distraction and the diversion, okay? So you need to make the distinction there. UFOs are important, but what they're telling us here is BS. So that's that. So there you go, guys. Woo! That was a fun one. What are we at? About an hour here. It's been about our how much time these videos lately have been taking, but do my best to do them more often and a little shorter. But nevertheless, there's just so much stuff happening right now that it is, great comment here. UFO is a general term such as the bleach thing. You've got to get deeper into understanding this. More technical, more logical. MMS, it's not a bleach. A bleach is not a thing, it's a process. A lot of things bleach. The sun bleaches your hair, hot damn it. Is the sun a bleach? No. Bleaching's not a thing, it's a process, okay? Same thing with some things bleach and they're not toxic, right? Same thing with UFOs. Unidentified flying objects, could be anything, right? You got to get down into, it's about time. There's enough information out there where you can research it and then get into a more structured conversation. If it's a UFO, okay, whose craft is it? Is it one of our craft, one of their craft? I don't care about some tiny secret program that was started in 2007 with a contract to Bigelow Aerospace, i.e. that ATIP stuff that all the mainstream media is really trying to push, especially the drive.com here. I don't care about some little program called ATIP that was just $22 million that ran for a few years. It was contracted to Bigelow Aerospace. I want to know what the hell the Air Force and the Navy and the CIA and the NRO and all these agencies have been doing since the frickin' 60s, the 50s with electrogravitic technologies and secret space programs. See what I'm picking up or putting down here? You picking up what I'm putting down? So it's these are very complex topics, which is why when I'm on Twitter, it's very difficult to have these sorts of conversations on Twitter when you're limited to 280 characters. But nevertheless, we still have to get the information out there. But you can't get caught up by sound bites or by headlines because these are very deep conversations. But you can just search my channel. A lot of good content out there. that I've done and I'll be making on all this to explain these deep concepts to you guys. And I appreciate you hanging out with me over this last hour for this live stream, news broadcast. It's fun to do this with you guys. Much appreciated. And just want to make note, go to my website, jordansather.com. Pop-up will come up, or you can go down to the bottom, sign up for my newsletter there. And I've got cool swag, Space Force Q shirts on there. A lot of people have been loving the Space Force shirts. Got some new products up. Got some greens powders. Got some Ormus in. I've got new Orgonite I'll be putting up today. Got a new supply of these Shungite Orgonite phone protectors here. Boom. A lot of great free feedback on these. You can plug onto your Wi-Fi routers or your phone. So there's all that. Links to all this stuff will be down below. Appreciate you guys. That's all for this one. Signing off here. Done.